Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's gearing up to be another productive day here in central Illinois. I doubt that we'll get as much done as we did yesterday. That was a very good day for both planters combined. I'm going to be in a few choppier fields today and I have no idea where the corn planter is going to be. It's actually very rare that we're in the same region for very long. If you enjoy what you see, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're gonna go get started so we can get finished. Last night when we quit, we left about 15 or 16 units of these Extend Flex soybeans in the seed tender. We're going to an Enlist bean, so we're gonna take the seed tender over to the seed shed, dump these out in a pro box, and then load the Enlist beans in. Then Chris just took off to the soybean planter. They're going to be dumping the very little amount of seed they have in the seed tanks, and that way when I have the seed tender full and loaded, I can go straight to the new farm, load it up, and hit the ground running. First, we need to locate an empty pro box. Nope. There's one. All we got to do is pop these 4 tabs off and this lid will come off and then I can just load them in there. I just got to make sure that I label on here that I put Asgrow Extend Flex soybeans in them. Is it empty? Oh yes. Is the door closed? Also yes. I think I may have made this more difficult than it had to be. Let's see if I can pull the seed tender into the barn. There's only 560 pounds, so that's closer to maybe 11 to 12 units. Also, I said yesterday when we were planting these that they were 37 XF1s. They're 38 XF1s. We do have a couple bags of the 37s though. I'm gonna back this out. We're gonna grab the Don Mario beans, which are right there in that black Pro box. And we're gonna load them up. Bex and Don Mario are our only 2 soybeans we get out of pro boxes. They are so much easier to work with than these silly bulk bags that Asgrow uses. When the boss shows up, I get kicked out of the forklift pretty quickly. I had a fantastic question in the comments of one of my previous videos. They asked, how do we determine which seed we're gonna buy and plant? I kind of had to brainstorm for a little bit and develop a little flow chart. First step is obviously going to be decide which crop you're going to plant. That's gonna be region and climate specific. For us, corn and soybeans are a no-brainer. You also have to consider what kind of equipment you have. We have the capability to plant, maintain, and harvest a large amount of acres of row crops, and corn and soybeans excel in our area. Once you make that decision, you need to decide which subset of that market you're going for. Using corn as an example, there's all different markets. You have non-GMO corn, you have commercial corn, which is genetically modified, you have other types like white corn, and there's a few other things you can do. Once that decision is made, then you can start to consider different seed companies and hybrids for corn. For us, it always comes down to three things: performance, price, and service. Performance is the biggest factor by far. Genetics are key to high yields. Genetically modified traits are more like supplements. They don't provide the yields that we need out in the field. They help us manage our crops, but it is that genetic lineup that allows the crop to excel so much. These hybrids have been in production for a handful of years before they hit the commercial fields. Seed companies and third parties put together plots out on farms over years to accrue realistic data of how those hybrids perform. That gives you a good idea of performance. Then you consider price. There's a couple other things you might consider, like what soil type you're putting the hybrid on and what it likes to be on. Some hybrids don't like wet feet, so you want them on a dry farm. There's many different examples of that, but it is something to keep in mind. You also have to consider the day length and maturity of hybrids and varieties. For corn, if you grow too long of a day corn, it will not mature in time and will still be way too wet come harvest time. If you plant too short of a hybrid, you're wasting potential days for it to keep growing and produce a higher yield. Here on our farm, we grow 107 to 115 day corn planted in April. Soybeans, we do a group 3 to a group 4 soybean. Now, obviously that's gonna vary depending on where you are at in the world. Then, obviously you have price. Some companies are much more expensive than others. You may pay a premium to get great genetics. And then last but not least is certainly service. Most seed companies anymore have pretty comparable service. You're probably not gonna be disappointed with about any choice you make. All right, time to head this gravy train on to the west. We'll be pretty close to where we finished up in the last episode, just probably about a half mile away from that farm. I'm gonna load these Enlist beans up and slay some acres. And we're off. Putting some Enlist beans in the ground. Quick little depth check to start the field. Another farm with light dirt. It's in the moisture, probably an inch to an inch and a quarter deep. I'm pretty satisfied with that. That one's shallow. That one kind of shallow. About an inch and a half deep there. The ones that are a little bit shallow are in the tractor tracks. I'm gonna drop those in the ground another notch just so they're in moisture. Double check just for reference. They're a little deep here on the end. What I'm gonna do is back the downforce off maybe 40 pounds. Then I'll probably pull them up a little bit. This ground is just so mellow out here. These units are just cruising through it like butter. I honestly can't believe more people aren't out planting. Not my problem. We're gonna plant this field. Got the first field done, crossing the bridge, and we're gonna hit the second out of 3. It's a pick your own entrance type of field. We gotta figure this out. It's another absolutely gorgeous day to be putting some seeds in the ground. Weather's about 72 degrees right now. The high's right around 80. Whew, these seeds will be out of the ground in a couple days at this pace. Right through the bottom of the terrace. Maybe a little sticky. No, actually pretty solid. Gosh. This is definitely wet. Oh yeah. Oh, she's struggling. This is gonna be the questionable one. I skipped a pass so I can hit it going downhill. The sprayer left some ruts. Okay. Grab a couple gears. Ooh. Oh. Not too bad. I don't know if I would have made that uphill. 2 years ago in 2019, which was an extremely wet planting season for us, I absolutely buried this planter across the road. I don't think I'm going to get stuck today, but I did have some flashbacks when I was planting through the spot where I got stuck. The nice thing about hitting all these inlets is it's a good excuse to clean off all the trash around them. That way they'll drain when it rains. That was wetter than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully that mud doesn't cause any issues. Just finished field 2 out of 3. I need to empty the rest of the seed out of the seed tender and the planter, and that'll be enough to finish up these Enlist beans over here on this farm. I somehow managed to get that perfect on the first try backing up. I was worried I was going to run into the seed tender.
Hello to you too, Scales.
Got about 2,500 pounds on the seed tender, so we're going to split 1,200 aside. Got seed in the tanks, talc on it so it flows good. And we got a special visitor over there. Lenny's coming to ride for day 2. I hope he's not expecting to get paid. I can barely afford my own paycheck. I finally put someone else to work cleaning up my messes. Good job. Lenny's already asleep on the job. It must be a father-son thing. Just to give you guys an update about how my day's going so far, this farm I've been working on all morning probably has 15 plus inlets on different terraces around the farm. And you've seen my track record. I've hit a lot of them. So I've been getting a lot of steps in, walking out to stand those back up. But we're progressing and we're about done with this field. Well, we've run into a little bit of an obstacle. I'm pretty much wrapped up on this side of the farm, but I have a few acres on the back side here that I need to do. I was going to cross the bridge, and the dirt's kind of washed out. I don't know if I should try and cross that or not. I've determined that there's really no way I can get across it. The tractor wouldn't really have any problems. The planter, I'd be afraid that it would actually flip, and that would be a horrible place to flip a planter over into a ditch like that. Not that there was any good place to flip a planter. I was saving a little bit here on the east side of the road to clean my planter out once I was done on that side. I guess I'll go ahead and plant it to kill some time. Chris is on his way with the loader. Who knows how long it'll take him to get here. He's kind of slow. Our savior's here. Here's a start. I don't think one bucket will do it. Okay, we're going to take it across nice and slow. Worst case scenario, we have to call a wrecker to pull a planter out of the ditch. I think we made it. Whether or not we make it back's a different story, but we got beans to plant before then. I'm going through an awful lot of mud holes for claiming this to be perfect conditions. This would probably be wet the next time we plant it too. Oh boy. Whoa, she's going sideways. Nice. Got it. A farm like this is where the flexibility of the Enlist herbicide program really shines. We have a neighbor right next door that's probably planting a susceptible type of bean to dicamba, whether it be Enlist, Liberty, or non-GMO. Since that is the case this year, we have to leave a 240-foot boundary where we do not spray dicamba next to them. Well, 240 foot adds up pretty quickly, and you can grow a lot of water hemp in that small of a space. When you consider those two highly competitive herbicide programs, your trump card is your dicamba and your 2,4-D, the auxin-based growth regulator herbicides. Those will smoke water hemp. Your Liberties of the world, I mean, if you do it right, they can control weeds, but they're not near as successful as 2,4-D and dicamba are. Unfortunately, when you use the Extend or the XtendFlex program, you are very limited with what you can do with that dicamba. As I said, it's a fantastic herbicide, but it has a lot of problems, which has resulted in a lot of limitations and regulations to how it's applied. The 2,4-D Enlist system is much more flexible, and that's a big reason why we've selected the farms we have to use that type of bean. And unfortunately, the next farm I'm going to is Extend beans, so when I finish up this last pass, I'm gonna have to get these row units clean again. There they go. Cleans out pretty quick at 300,000. I'm putting a lot of them along the tree line. I know the rabbits like to eat soybeans. I'm just a generous farmer. The sad duality of farming around here is that your prettiest farms are usually your worst producing. I really enjoy the landscape here, but this is not our best producing ground. Don't worry though, we're headed back to God's country. For as much time as I spent on these 3 fields, I really haven't gotten that much done so far today. It's funny because the other day my dad was giving me a hard time. Since they were in soybeans this year, he didn't have to mess with them. They were my problem. Well, we have a few farms on both sides of the rotation that are no fun to plant. He's got a 60-foot corn planter and I'm working with a 40-foot soybean planter. This is a lot less stressful for me than it is for him. I didn't meet a single car that entire trip. Not bad. And that wheat looks really good. Oh, I had to say something. Now there's a car coming. Got home field advantage, so time to quench our thirst. We used a lot of fuel and didn't cover that many acres. Another unfortunate part of ground like that. You can see the seed level in the tank right now is right there. I need to get all those beans out. I only have one bag. I've brainstormed an idea. This may work very well, or it may get me in a lot of trouble with the boss. Or some combination of the two, I don't know. Okay, here's my idea. I'm going to take one of these empty Pro boxes from Don Mario that we got these soybeans in, try and slide it under the seed tank with the forklift, and open those slides up and dump the seed straight in. I may need a piece of cardboard or something to guide it a little bit away because I don't think I can get the Pro Box directly under it. We're gonna give it a shot. It's penciling out in my head. Don't think I'm gonna make a mess. I guess we just gotta try it. Sometimes I even surprise myself. There's still a few left in here, but I can clean that up easily with one bag. I know it appears like I spilled a lot of soybeans on the ground, and I did spill a few. If I would have dumped this by hand with bags, probably 8, 9, 10 bags, I would have spilled almost an entire bag worth of soybean just out of my messiness. Do the other side. I was like, why won't it let me go any farther? The row unit is this far away. And I realized there's one right there. Hope you're okay, buddy. Working over here too. That's a lot more beans left over than I thought we were supposed to have. There's probably 15 bags in there. If I would have used individual bags, I'd still be dumping them. Unless you had a pretty discerning eye, you'd really not be able to tell that I dumped the planter here. No beans on the ground. I didn't drive in the yard at all. Spotless. Story of my life, waiting on Chris to show up with some soybeans. We've got some Pioneer 39 A45X straight extend beans coming in. We planted a few units of these in the other video. We think it's going to be a very strong bean, and we're about to go put them out on our home farm. So we got a couple hundred acres here, right south of the main farmstead. About to put these in. I was prepared for the wait though. I got some snacks. Time for a little depth check. This farm is not even close to similar to the one we just came from. This is a much richer, darker soil. We need to handle the seeds differently. We also hit it with the field cultivator, so you see there's a lot of moisture out of the top inch of the soil, but because we field cultivated it, the seeds are also going to go in the ground deeper. The ground's just softer. About 1.5 inches in the soil. I think I'll leave the settings the same, but I'll back the downforce off another 20 to 40 pounds. That'll put the pressure off the row units in this tilled ground. That makes a big difference. All right, so we'll go right here. We got a 200. I don't want to go under 180, so we'll just bump it down 20. That's what the increments are. And it'll adjust when we start planting. This darker soil we have here around home and up there north of Route 16 in God's country acts as a solar panel and warms up much quicker than those lighter soils that we just came from. We have experience with both types just based on our position here on the glacial moraine, but you do have to treat them differently. It's pretty refreshing being on field cultivated ground. Everything we hit with the vertical till last fall is extremely rough. I feel like I'm just riding on a cloud right now. Very little bouncing at all. Well, the camera makes it look worse than it is. This is a smooth ride. Oh, that was short-lived. Back on vertical tilled rough ground. I'll miss you, field cultivator. Nothing quite as nice as having your auto steer lined up exactly with the corn planter on this farm right next to us. Perfect. We're just opening up the biggest chunk of this field. Got a long way to go. I'm not sure if we'll finish it all tonight, but we'll take a good chunk out of it. This is why they warn you not to work late. You suffer injuries. My poor drone lost a blade. Fortunately, I have a backup. In this scenario, I'm both the victim and the perpetrator. Who put that planter there? The beauty of modern guidance and sensing technology makes operating this planter almost effortless. I never have to worry about how much seed's being put down because I constantly have my output up here on the screen. I genuinely think with this seed chart right here and my guidance line, I could turn the lights off on this tractor and turn perfectly every time. Well, not every time. Not gonna try because hubris definitely leads to demise. These green lights are my section control. I'm actually going across the point rows right here where I've already planted, and you'll see them turn off as I reach where I've already planted. Beautiful. Now we're coming back across. They should be turning on as we cross them. You can see the guidance line in the right corner showing what we've covered. There they're booting up. I'm going to quit for the night when I run out of seed. It just keeps coming and coming though. I don't know if I found some kind of infinitely regenerative seed source there in the back tanks. Maybe I'm just spending too much time staring at the clock. Oh, finally what I'm looking for. I'm folding up and pulling out of this field. Ooh, one of the field cultivators is back in. Haven't seen him since yesterday. Okay everyone, it's been a really long day and I'm ready to go home. Didn't get near as much accomplished as I would have liked. I had to do a lot of moving and planting around objects. Who knows what the boss was doing in the Exact-Emerge corn planter. He covered probably a lot more acres than I did. I can say that safely. We've had 2 great days of planting so far. The forecast does show a few chances within the next week where it might rain. We'll have to factor that into our decisions as we move forward. I'm hoping that it stays dry and we can get the rest of this crop planted and then we can think about feeding it. If that's the case, we're going to keep hammering on. I appreciate you all who made it to the end of this video. Thank you for tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great night, everyone. Peace!